What is up, Instagram Live? Nice to see you all. Hopefully you're having an amazing morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. It is a beautiful day at the beach here today. I'm trying to see where the best light is. Maybe right here, a little funky lighting in the background there. I hope you're having an amazing morning, evening, or afternoon, regardless of where you're tuning in from. Today, we have a really simple and really quick tip. What's up from Manchester, UK? Nice to see you. Today, we're on day number 99 of our 100-day personal performance and business growth challenge. On day number 99, our topic is really simple. It's focused on what are 3 things that absolutely influence our habits. And let me tell you how important our habits are real quick. There was a research study done at Duke University that showed 60% of what we do every day is nothing more than an unconscious habit. What does that mean? Well, the first time you learn how to do something, what they found out was your brain waves, when you start the process of learning something, there's a huge boop spike in brain waves. And then the first time you do the activity, there's this huge spike in brain activity the whole time you're learning this process. Now, once you've done something at least 6 times, what they showed a little scan of your brain, and there's a huge spike in the beginning, boop, and then the spike comes down, and the rest of your brain activity is like this, on the bottom of the screen, and then at the end, there's boop, and you change activities. And what that means is the majority of that process was a unconscious mental activity. Now, what that really means is you were not mentally stimulated during the process, which means you were in a unconscious or minimum conscious habit of process there. And so if 60% of what you do every day is an unconscious habit, you got to think of all the things you've done more than 6 times that your brain is not consciously thinking of when you go do the pattern. Now, what's fascinating is when we look at the habits and patterns you have, most people, and I'm going to move us a little bit so I can go grab my dry erase board here and draw you guys a picture. Let's see, we'll move over here, go grab this dry erase board, 1 second. So most people, just to make this super duper clear, I'm going to swap over here, grab another place to sit, see if the lighting's a little better. Slightly better. So most people, when we look at the habits y'all have, we want to think of this real quick. And let me draw you a picture to show you what I'm talking about here. So if we're going to start at X down in the bottom right-hand corner here, or left on the screen, and we want to go over here to the 99%, if we look at this concept, we're going to say this is the majority, the mass majority of people. So real quick, in the comments, I'd love to know, did 99% of people on this planet, how happy are most people that you meet? Let's just start with that. Are they out of their mind, ecstatic about life, totally thrilled to be alive? Every moment is a blessing. They feel just so lucky to be alive, and every moment feels this amazing, excitement and gratitude. Or are most people struggling to get through today, surviving another day at work, putting up with all the crap that they have to go through? Now, most people are not that happy. 50-60% is what I'm seeing in the comment section, so not that happy. How about healthy? I mean, just look around in the United States or the United Kingdom or a lot of countries around the world. How healthy are most people? If you look at the health statistics, a lot of people are obese. A lot of people are mentally, 1 out of 3 people are on antidepressant medication in the United States. That doesn't sound like mental and physical and emotional health to me, so most people are not so healthy. At least they have relationships, right? How are most relationships going? Most intimate relationships. How are people doing in their relationships? Not that great there either. Shoot. What about financially? At least they're making a ton of money, right? Well, most people are living like paycheck to paycheck. Well, crap. I don't think that's the goal then. I don't think we want to work really hard to land up like most people. So then we kind of jump up here and say, okay, 1%. So if we're going to try to be the 1% of humans way up here, whenever I write 1%, I always have people Yeah. What about sitting still for 15 minutes? Can most people sit down and clear their mind and have total presence without a single thought entering their mind or distracting them for 15 minutes a day? Truth is, no. Most people can't do that. Most people sit down and talk to themselves with their eyes closed and go, that shit didn't work, and call it meditation. And so what's wild is if you look at all this stuff, we say, well, what about the 1%? The 1% of people. And I would ask you in the comment section, do you guys want to be the 1% of people? The 1% of people that give more than anyone else in your community. Take care of people and society or causes you really believe in. Do you want to be the 1% of people who are the healthiest people in your community? Physically healthy, mentally healthy, emotionally healthy. Do you want to be the 1% of people that have incredible, loving, passionate, deep, amazing relationships? Do you want to be the 1% of people that has financial abundance where you're not so much worried what payday is? Like you have so much that you're not really concerned about it. So I'm seeing people say, yes, obviously. Okay, great. But the crazy part is when I look at your dream boards and your vision boards, those really cool boards where you manifest what you want to achieve, I don't see $400,000 a year with a decently happy marriage and pretty good health. What I see on those vision boards is like, a second home, building hospitals and schools in villages around the world. I see this happy, loving, sexy, wildly passionate relationship. I see these giant stacks of cash and wild levels of abundance with cars and homes and stuff like that. And that's not the 1%. The 1% makes about $400,000 a year and has a pretty happy marriage. The 0.001% is what most people are aiming for. And here's what's crazy, and this one gets a ooh when people pay attention to it. If you have habits that come down here to the 99%, so 99% habits will never, ever, 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 ever get you 0.001% results. I hope this makes sense to you. Drop a high five in that comment section if this makes sense. If you have these habits, it will never, ever, 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 ever get you these results, which means we got to figure out what are the habits that get us these results up here, not those 99% habits. And remember, I'm going to write it right here in the middle, 60% of what we do every day, according to Duke University, is an unconscious habit. 60% of what we do. I hope that you have unconscious habits you've built in that naturally and continuously get these kind of results. I really, really hope you've built in those habits so that every single day you're 1 or 2 steps closer to that 1% or 0.001% result. Because if you have not built on those habits, then 60% of what you do every day is moving you towards this result that you don't want and you're probably unhappy about. Now, we're going to do a whole series on habits of high performers. So people like Michael Phelps, Serena Williams, Usain Bolt, people who are living 100 plus years old, people who are achieving a ridiculous amount of money. There's very specific results that you can see that they achieve based on the habits they have, the things they do every single day. I'll give you an example. Warren Buffett has achieved a 0.001% result in finances. How did he do it? Well, this guy reads 5 to 6 hours per day of business reports. Now, how many of you just went, well, shit, 1% ain't that bad? Because 0.001%, that's 5 to 6 hours of reading a day. 1% sounds much better now. That's okay. It's totally fine to be like, I ain't going to do the Warren Buffett 5 to 6 hours a day, but I am going to do the 1 hour a day that might get me to the 1% of results financially. And what's crazy, today, this little section, hopefully this is useful to get you thinking about this. Magda, Jim Quick does read a book a day, but he doesn't read a financial report from a company a day. Hopefully, I think he should. He's very smart, and he's a great speed reader and an incredible friend. You'll just see the difference in what he's reading makes a difference in the education that he's getting and the difference in the results he's getting, because Jim is nowhere close to Warren Buffett financially. And Jim doesn't study investing like Warren does. But Jim has far excelled learning things and learning all kinds of great stuff and probably far exceeded anything Warren's done in those categories. So it depends, and this is what I'm saying, Jim is certainly part of the 1%. Jim has achieved a lifestyle and experience financially and made a difference in the world in his life and stuff. He's certainly 1%, but he is not the 0.001%. And there's a huge difference between these. This is like millionaires, and this is like, $58 billion. This is a huge difference. And so learning the strategy, and then you got to say, okay, how do you make it an unconscious habit? How do you make it something you do every single day? Because 60% of what we do is an unconscious habit. We're not cognitively thinking about it. I'll give you another for instance. How many of you have ever said, wow, time flies, and the older I get, the faster things seem to go? How many of you have ever said this phrase? The older I get, the faster things seem to go in life. Throw me a high five or a little heart or something if you've ever said that phrase. And if you've ever said this phrase of the older I get, the faster time seems to go, I'll tell you why. And it's because the older you get, you fall into doing more and more of these unconscious habits, which if you look at the brain activity, again, let me go back to this for those of you who missed it. This is the difference. Duke University did a whole research study on this, and here's what they found. This is your brain activity the first time you learn something. It's like this. Boop, 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 boop. By the 6th time you've done something, here's what your brain activity looks like. Boop, boop, at the end. That's it. This is why time seems to fly, because your brain is literally in autopilot while you're doing 60% of your day. So I can do a whole nother little live session training on how to keep your brain active and alive, which slows down time. It makes you feel really alive and really present. But if you're doing the same stuff every day, yes, you will be more productive, you'll get more done, but no, you will not be more mentally present and alive. Instead, you'll go on autopilot and time will snap by. 1 minute you look up, it's 10 a.m., next minute you look up, it's 10 p.m., and you don't know what happened. You were in autopilot all day. And there's studies and research to show this. Now, something really important, there's 3 things that influences our habit at a really high level. Number 1, what everyone else does. This is what makes it extremely hard, depending on where you live and who you hang out with, to change a habit. Because if that's what everyone does in your community, it's very, very easy to get caught up in it. This is why they say, hey, spend time with people you want to become like, because the habits that everyone else around us does highly predicts the habits we're going to be doing consistently. That's number 1. You want to write that down. Number 2, the next thing that determines the habits and influences the habits you have is things that are easy and things that are linked up to past triggers. So I'll give you an example of this one. The first one's pretty obvious and easy, but let's say you're trying to eat healthier. And every time you go to the grocery store, you tend to buy a bunch of unhealthy foods. It's said that if you want to change this, go to a different grocery store. Why? Because your brain is not used to where all the stuff is in the grocery store. Therefore, the habit and triggers that are set up in the normal grocery store cannot be set off in a new place that you've never been. Versus if you go to the same grocery store you always go to, when you walk down the same aisle, you'll watch your hand almost automatically reach up on the shelf and grab that thing that you don't want to grab, because that's how you always do it. And so literally, it's such an easy influence, is change what's easy and change the triggers around you, and you'll start to rewire some habits. Also, change the peer group. You'll rewire some habits. And here's the third one. The people we look up to. The people we look up to heavily influence the habits we have. The people we look up to, the people we really go, wow, look at them, or oh my gosh, they mean so much to me, or oh my gosh, they're so important and powerful. They determine the habits we have because we look at them for examples. This is the example of the 1% or the 0.001%. I'll give you an example. Watch this. I don't know if any of these people are important to you, but I was doing some research on what kind of people have a personal life or performance coach they work with. And so I looked it up, and I had some analysts do some research online for me and gather all the data. And they found that people like Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, George Clooney, who else? Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, the old CEO of Apple or Alphabet. So all of these people have coaches. Mark Benioff from Salesforce, from scratch to a $6 billion a year company. All these people have personal coaches that help them in their personal life and their professional life. So how many of you, by raise of hands, think that if you want to achieve the kind of results these people are achieving, Oprah, Richard Branson, Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook from Apple, all these people have performance and personal life coaches. Oprah, don't you think it'd be smart to have one if you kind of want to get the results they have? Now, what's wild is I heard that, and I was like, damn, thank goodness I have a coach. Now, what's interesting is if we think about this third concept of habits, how many of you, and I'm seeing a lot of little hands pop up here, how many of you are now considering having a coach? Because you're just like, oh my God, if Oprah has a coach, shit, I should probably get one. If Richard Branson has a coach, if Tim Cook or Mark Zuckerberg, I'm like, my gosh. And all of a sudden it starts to make sense because someone on that list that you look up to, I don't know who it is, or you're like, wow, they're a good person, or they're really cool, or they've achieved a lot. Someone in that list clicks in your brain and goes, damn, if they have one, I should have one. And bingo, we've influenced a habit. We've influenced an idea or a concept or a thought. Now, what's wild is this isn't really a thing. This is absolutely a thing. And I'll show you why. I know you're probably one of those people that doesn't watch television, doesn't read magazines, is not influenced by the media in any way. What's wild is there's always somebody you look up to. There's somebody you look up to, and if they do it, all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, I think I should do that. And it's wild. It's wild, the people that influence people. There was huge research studies done around the world to figure out what and who influence which types of people. There's people who are very education-based. So people you might find in Boston who have their master's degree or PhD level education, they would never be influenced by a celebrity, but they might be influenced by their favorite professor who wrote the most research studies and publications on the following 3 topics. And all of a sudden it's like, ooh. Or you might be influenced by, and let me show you something interesting. Have you heard the concept, are you in good hands? And you're like, wow, I've heard that voice before. I know that commercial. They took a product, they threw it with someone who people are influenced by, they wrapped it together with a large reach via the television, and all of a sudden they influence millions of people to go and buy that product. Long time ago, there's a group in the United States that's influenced by family and connectivity. They hate change. They like things stay the same. They like community, like the barbecue on the weekends type stuff. And the AT&T ran a television commercial called Reach Out and Touch Someone. They showed a little grandma sitting in a chair all lonely by herself. And it said, reach out and touch someone. And it shows, the grandkid calling. And all of a sudden, grandma lights up and gets all excited. And they ran that commercial. And they saw I think it was a 12,000% increase in telephone calls over the AT&T network over the next 6 months. Why? Because they ran that commercial in the Midwest of the United States, and all the people who value community, family, culture felt bad, picked up the phone and called grandma or whoever they called in their family, and bam, the telephone lines lit up. And that's back when it used to cost to make each phone call. So they were driving their revenue up just by running a little commercial called Reach Out and Touch Someone. So it's interesting, if you look at habits, 60% of what we do is an unconscious habit every day. You want to be aware of what your habits are. If you want 3 things that influence them, number 1, things that are easy and past triggers. So places you've been, stuff you've done that naturally sets off a habit around you. Number two, what everyone else does around you. And number three, people you look up to, regardless if they're a celebrity or your grandma or grandpa or uncle or aunt or brother or sister or the man or woman up the road. It doesn't matter, but if you look up to them, they tend to influence your habits. I have a dinner to go to with a friend of mine from Germany and my beautiful, amazing wife. Hopefully this is useful. If it is, tag someone, share it with them, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for day number 100 of our 100-day personal performance and business growth challenge.